They told you to be nice. They lied. It wasn't a lie born of malice, but one of profound, systemic convenience. A lie designed to domesticate, to sand down the jagged edges of masculine energy until all that remains is a smooth, predictable, and utterly replaceable stone. You were taught that kindness, availability, and unwavering support were the currency of attraction. You paid your dues diligently, only to discover you were investing in a bankrupt system. The truth, the one they never speak in the light, is that nice is often just a polite word for weak. It is the label given to the man who poses no challenge, the man who offers no mystery, the man who can be figured out in a single conversation. You became a solved equation, and no one rereads a book when they already know the ending. She didn't just leave you. That would have been a clean wound. No, she dismantled you, piece by piece, with the chilling precision of a bomb disposal expert diffusing your very identity. She didn't reject a man. She rejected a strategy. Your strategy. The one you were told would guarantee victory. Think back to that final conversation. Space between her words was a vacuum, sucking all the certainty from your world. Her eyes didn't hold anger or sadness. That would have implied you mattered enough to provoke an emotion. What you saw was far more devastating. Boredom. It was the calm, detached gaze of an administrator closing an account that is no longer profitable. You weren't a lover being cast aside. You were a service being discontinued. Every "you're such a great guy, but" was a carefully calibrated insult wrapped in the guise of a compliment. It was a verbal anesthetic administered before the surgical removal of your self-respect. He was telling you that the very qualities you built your character upon, your reliability, your consistency, your eagerness to please, were the precise reasons for your dismissal. You were the safe harbor she used to weather a storm, and now that the skies were clear, she had no more use for a port. She was setting sail for deeper, more dangerous waters, seeking a captain, not a dockhand. Let's return to that moment. The one that replays in the dead of night. Sterile quiet of the room. The coffee you bought her growing cold on the table. A perfect metaphor for her feelings. You were trying to understand, trying to find a logic that wasn't there. You offered solutions, compromises, a future. You were negotiating the terms of your surrender while she was already drafting the press release of your defeat. You thought you were in a relationship, a partnership of equals. You were wrong. You were in an evaluation period, a trial run, and your performance was deemed adequate but uninspired. You were the reliable sedan, perfectly functional, but she was dreaming of a wild, untamed stallion. She didn't see a man with a future. She saw a utility with an expiration date. And as you sat there, absorbing the impact, the most brutal realization hit you. She was never. You were just borrowing her time, holding a place for the man she was actually waiting for. You were the ghost in your own love story. In the laws of nature and power, there is a fundamental principle. A vacuum will always be filled. A man without a core, without a self-defined mission that transcends the need for external validation, is a vacuum. You made her your mission. You made her approval your purpose. You handed her the architect's blueprints to your own soul and were shocked when she decided to demolish the building. You violated the first rule of emotional warfare. Never cede the high ground of your own identity. You became a mirror, reflecting her needs, her desires, her moods, and in doing so, you ceased to exist. She didn't fall out of love with you. She simply grew tired of looking at her own reflection. She wanted a mountain, a force of nature to contend with, and you gave her a perfectly manicured garden, pleasant and predictable. But what if this catastrophic failure was not the end? What if this rejection, this public execution of the nice guy persona, was actually a map written in invisible ink, pointing to a source of power you never knew you had? What if her instinct, the very primal mechanism that found you lacking, is the key to unlocking a level of attraction and respect you cannot currently comprehend? There is a hidden archetype of masculinity, one that society publicly shames, but that women privately, desperately crave. It is not about aggression or arrogance. It is about an unshakable inner silence, a purpose so profound that a woman's presence is a welcome addition, not a desperate requirement. It is a primal trigger buried deep in her psyche, a switch that bypasses her rational mind and speaks directly to her soul. She may not understand it. She may even deny it. But it. And by the end of this journey, you will not only understand this trigger, you will become it. If you are ready to burn the old maps and embrace the brutal, beautiful truth of masculine power, then this is your moment of decision. Subscribe to this channel, activate all notifications so you miss nothing, and press the like button as a declaration that your education begins now. This is not a place for comfort. It is a forge for weapons. In the comments below, I demand to know what city or country you are watching from. Let's see the global map of men who are ready to stop asking for respect and start commanding it. The collapse of your authority was not an event. It was a process. It was not a sudden earthquake that shattered the foundations of your relationship. It was low, creeping rot, a termite infestation that hollowed you out from the inside while the exterior remained deceptively intact. You didn't even notice until you leaned against a wall and your hand went straight through the plaster, revealing the dust and decay within. This is the autopsy of that failure. We must dissect it with cold, clinical precision, because understanding the anatomy of your defeat is the first step to ensuring it never happens again. The first phase of your surrender was emotional concession. It began subtly. She would have a bad day at work. She would come home with a cloud of negativity, and you, believing yourself to be the good boyfriend, would rush in to fix it. You became an emotional janitor, mopping up her spills, trying to manage her feelings for her. You thought you were being supportive. What you were actually communicating was that her emotional state had the power to dictate your actions and your own internal peace. Her bad mood became your emergency. You abandoned your own frame, your own state of mind, to enter hers and solve a problem that was never yours to begin with. She tested, you yielded. She won. The first brick of her dominance was laid on the foundation of your good intentions. You taught her that her feelings were a weapon that could command your immediate attention and resources. From there, you slid gracefully into the second phase, the loss of control. This wasn't about her telling you what to do. It was far more insidious. It was you, preemptively altering your own life to accommodate her perceived desires. You had plans with your friends, a project you were passionate about, a gym schedule you were committed to. But if she seemed even slightly distant or unhappy, you would cancel. You would sacrifice your mission for her mood. You called it compromise. It was capitulation. A man with a purpose does not allow his mission to be derailed by the emotional whims of another. His path is set. She is welcome to walk it with him, but she does not get to redraw the map. By consistently choosing her momentary comfort over your long-term goals, you demonstrated that you had no goals of any real importance. You became a ship without a rudder, easily blown off course by the slightest breeze of her disapproval. And a woman will never trust a ship without a rudder to navigate the storms of life. This led directly to the third and perhaps most pathetic phase, the relentless search for validation. Having outsourced control of your emotions and your schedule, you now needed her constant approval to feel secure. Your conversations became littered with weak, probing questions. Are you okay? Are we good? You seem quiet. Is something wrong? Each question was a confession of your insecurity. You were not asking about her. You were taking her emotional temperature not out of genuine concern, but as a way to soothe your own anxiety. You needed her to tell you that you were still okay, that you hadn't been fired from the job of her partner. This behavior is repulsive to the female psyche. It screams that you have no internal source of validation, that your self-worth is a fragile thing you have placed in her hands for safekeeping. And women are not attracted to fragile things. They are attracted to rocks, to mountains, to forces that can withstand the storm, not to men who crumble at the first sign of a cloud. Now, fully submerged, you entered the fourth phase, affective dependency. Her presence became a narcotic. Fear of her leaving, of being alone, became so overwhelming that you began to tolerate behavior you would never accept from anyone else. Disrespectful comments you would have challenged from a friend. You let plans she canceled at the last minute, you accepted with a forced smile. You ignored red flags the size of parade floats because the thought of confronting them and risking her departure was more terrifying than the slow-motion erosion of your own self-respect. You were no longer in a partnership. You were a hostage negotiating with your captor. Silence in the face of her disrespect wasn't patience. It was fear. You chose the slow poison of resentment over the sharp, clean pain of a potential confrontation. You were afraid to lose her. But what you didn't realize is that you had already lost yourself. The final fatal act was breaking the silence. Not with a declaration of strength, but with a plea for mercy. This is the infamous "we need to talk" conversation, initiated by you. You sat her down, your heart pounding, and you poured out all your insecurities. You told her how much you loved her, how you couldn't live without her, how you'd do anything to fix things. You laid your entire hand on the table, revealing to her, and to yourself, that you held no winning cards. You were begging. You thought you were being vulnerable and open, using the communication tools the world told you were effective. What you were actually doing was performing your own surrender ceremony. When you apologized for things that weren't your fault, just to keep the peace, you signed your unconditional surrender. You handed her the sword and knelt, hoping for clemency. She gave you a quick, clean execution instead. Perhaps you're thinking, but relationships are about communication and compromise. You are confusing strategy with sentiment. Compromise is a negotiation between two sovereign powers. What you were doing was ceding territory in the vain hope she would stop her advance. You weren't communicating. You were confessing your weakness. You were transmitting your fear, your neediness, your lack of a center. And she received that transmission loud and clear. Her silence, which you interpreted as disinterest or confusion, was anything but. Her silence is dominance, not inattention. In those moments where you frantically tried to fill the void with words, she was watching. She was assessing. She was holding a frame of calm, powerful indifference while you completely disintegrated. She was testing you, and you failed. Every time you chased her when she pulled away, you failed. Every time you begged for an explanation for her mood, you failed. Every time you put her on a pedestal, you failed. This is the brutal truth you must accept. The fall is not visible. It does not happen in a single dramatic argument. It happens in the 1,000 small concessions. It happens in the hesitation before you state your own opinion. It happens in the yes you say when your entire being is screaming no. It happens in the apologies you offer for having needs. You were dismantled piece by piece, surrender by surrender, until nothing was left. You became a ghost in your own life. A hollow man defined only by his relationship to her. Time to stop the bleeding. It's time to diagnose the disease so you can finally begin the cure. The first step is a ruthless self-assessment. If you are serious about forging the kind of inner steel that makes you immune to this kind of collapse, then your work starts now. Subscribe to this channel, empower yourself by liking this video, and activate all notifications, because this is your new training ground. Now, let's begin our strategic analysis together. In the comments, I want you to answer one question and be brutally honest. What was the first boundary you let her cross? What was that one small act of disrespect you tolerated that you now recognize as the beginning of your surrender? No one is coming to save you. Your rescue begins with your own confession. There is no going back for the weak. There is only the construction of the new. Let that sentence burn itself into your mind. Erase any fantasy you have of reclaiming what was lost, of fixing what was broken, of returning to a past that was built on a foundation of sand. That man is dead. He was executed by her boredom and your compliance. Your only option now is not resurrection. What we are about to undertake is not an emotional healing journey. It is a tactical reconstruction of a failed state. You are the territory, and for too long, you have allowed it to be occupied by foreign emotional powers. Now we reclaim it, fortify it, and turn it into an impenetrable fortress. This is not about feeling better. This is about becoming better. It is a cold, calculated, and necessary war against your own weakness. The first command of this new regime is to cut the excess. Your life is cluttered with emotional dead weight. Hope is the heaviest of all. Hope that she'll realize her mistake. Hope that she'll see the new you. Hope is a beggar's currency. You are no longer a beggar. You will perform a complete and total strategic withdrawal. This is not giving her space. This is creating a vacuum. You will sever every line of communication. Every social media connection, every phone number, every shared digital space. This is not done with an angry announcement. An announcement is a plea for a reaction. You are not pleading for anything. You will simply vanish. One day you are there, a predictable, available utility. The next, you are a ghost. This act of disappearing without a trace is the single most powerful move you can make because it shatters her entire frame of control. She expects you to chase, to argue, to demand closure. She is prepared for your anger and your sadness. She has no protocol for your absolute silent absence. You remove yourself as a piece on her chessboard. You are no longer playing her game. In fact, you have just flipped the entire board over. The second command is to install the silence. After you have vanished, there may be probes, a text message, a call from a blocked number, an email. These are not attempts at reconciliation. They are reconnaissance missions sent to gauge your emotional state. Tests to see if the old weak man is still in there, waiting to be summoned. Your response to these probes will determine the success of this entire operation. Response will be nothing. Absolute, deafening silence. Every word you type back is a concession. It tells her she still has the power to provoke a reaction, that she still occupies real estate in your mind. Silence, however, is not passive. It is an active weapon. It communicates a reality far more devastating to her ego than any angry tirade. She is no longer relevant. Her actions, her words, her very existence do not warrant a response from you. You are busy building an empire. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence will be feared. Your silence imposes your new reality. It is an absence that has weight. It is not a presence that begs. You will not reconquer her attention. You will replace her significance with a sharper silence. The third command is to control the reaction. This is the internal war. The silence you project outward must be matched by a silence you cultivate inward. Your mind will be a battlefield. Old habits of thought will launch insurrections. You will feel the urge to check her social media, to ask a mutual friend about her, to replay old conversations. These are the death throes of the weak man. You must crush them without mercy. Your focus is now a weapon, and you must aim it with lethal precision. This is where the true reconstruction begins. By redirecting every ounce of your mental and emotional energy away from the black hole of her memory and into the 4 pillars of your new dominion. Your transformation is not an act you put on for an audience of one. It is the forging of a new identity, an identity so powerful that her opinion of it becomes utterly and completely irrelevant. The reconstruction is built upon 4 pillars of hierarchical dominance. This is not a vague self-improvement plan. It is a strategic allocation of resources to increase your objective value in the world. First is the physical hierarchy. You will declare war on your body, not to look good for her, but to forge discipline. The gym becomes your temple and your forge. Every rep, every drop of sweat, is an act of defiance against the man you used to be. You are not building a beach body, you are building armor. You are creating a physical presence that communicates strength and capability before you ever speak a word. Second is the financial hierarchy. You will become obsessed with your mission, your work, your business, your craft. This is now your primary focus. You will pour all the energy you once wasted on her into building your financial independence. Money is not the goal. Money is a tool. It is the ammunition you need to fund your mission, to buy your freedom, and to remove limitations. A man who is financially dependent is a slave to circumstance. You will become a master of it. Your purpose must be so compelling that a woman's validation becomes a pleasant byproduct, not the central objective. Third is the social hierarchy. You will conduct a ruthless audit of your social circle. Weak, complaining, and directionless men are a contagion. You will cut them out of your life. You will seek out and build a tribe of strong, ambitious men who are on their own missions. Your value is a direct reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You will elevate your circle, and in doing so, you will elevate yourself. You will learn to lead not with aggression, but with a detached focus that inspires respect in other men. the only respect that truly matters. Fourth is the symbolic hierarchy. This is your internal frame, your core. It is the development of an unshakable, quiet confidence that needs no external validation. You achieve this through action. By conquering the physical, the financial, and the social, you build an internal monument to your own capability. You become a man who has faced challenges and won. A man who trusts his own judgment. A man whose peace is generated from within, not borrowed from a woman's smile. This is the source of the quiet power and intrigue that is magnetically attractive because it is real. It cannot be faked. It must be earned. This entire process is a plan, not a hope. It's an algorithm for building a man who is not just respected, but necessary. A man who is not a resource to be consumed, but a force to be reckoned with. The goal is not to make her regret leaving you. The goal is to build a life so magnificent that her leaving you becomes a footnote in your biography, a minor catalyst that sparked the creation of an empire. When you operate from this frame, a strange thing happens. The power dynamic shifts permanently. You are no longer the one seeking approval. You become the one who grants it. This is the path. It is not easy. It is a path of fire and steel. But it is the only path that leads to true freedom and dominion. If you are ready to walk it, to burn the old you to the ground and build a king from the ashes, then your commitment starts now. Subscribe to this channel as a pledge to your new self. Press the like button as the first strike of the hammer on the steel. Activate all notifications, because your training is now in session. In the comments below, I demand you make a declaration. Of the 4 pillars of dominion, physical, financial, social, or symbolic, which one have you neglected the most, and which one will you begin to conquer first? Your public declaration is your first act of war against your old self. The age of the nice guy is over. The era of your reign has just begun. We have come to the end of the war, but not to the end of the battle. The war for her validation is over. You have won by unconditional withdrawal. The battle for your own dominion is eternal. It is fought every morning when you wake, every decision you make, every thought you choose to entertain or execute. The man you were is dead. Do not mourn him. He was a casualty of a necessary conflict, a weak king deposed to make way for an emperor. Stand upon the ruins of your old self, and you must understand the final, most crucial principle of this new era. Power does not announce itself. It is felt. It is an absence. It is the silence where a plea used to be, and in that silence, an echo will inevitably return. At some point, weeks, months, perhaps even years from now, your phone will illuminate with her name. It will not be a grand apology or a declaration of profound regret. It will be a probe, a simple, almost insulting, "Hey," or perhaps, "Just thinking about you, hope you're well." Do not be deceived. This is not an olive branch. It is a reconnaissance drone sent from her world to yours. It is a test to see if the old frequency still works, to check if the puppet's strings can still be tugged. She is not seeking reconciliation. She is seeking confirmation of her own power. Her ego, starved of the validation you once provided in abundance, is conducting a routine check on a dormant asset. She is knocking on the door of the prison to see if the old guard is still on duty. The man you were would have felt a jolt, a toxic cocktail of hope and anxiety. His heart would have hammered against his ribs, his mind racing with 1,000 possible responses. He would have seen it as a sign, a chance for redemption, a moment to finally get the closure he craved. He would have spent hours crafting the perfect reply, one that was cool but not cold, interested but not eager. He would have played the game, and he would have lost. Because the moment you respond, you have already conceded that the message mattered. You have signaled that the drone found its target. But you are not that man. When you see her name, you will feel nothing. Not anger, not joy, not even the faint tremor of a memory. You will feel the calm, detached stillness of a mountain observing a cloud pass by. You will see the message for what it is, a data point. A predictable output from a system you no longer operate within. You will read the words, and then you will place your phone down and return to your work. You will return to building your empire. You will not block her. Blocking is a scream. It is an emotional reaction. It is a desperate attempt to build a wall because you fear you are not strong enough to leave the door open. You will do something far more devastating. Your message will remain there, seen but unanswered. A digital monument to her absolute irrelevance. This silence is your final victory. It is a weapon so profound she cannot comprehend it. She is armed for your anger, prepared for your bitterness, and equipped to handle your pleading. She has no defense against your indifference. Your silence is not an act. It is a state of being. It communicates a truth more brutal than any insult. My life has moved forward to such a degree that responding to you is not a valuable use of my time. You are not ignoring her to punish her. You are ignoring her because, in the grand strategy of your life, she has become a non-factor. A footnote in a book you have long since finished writing. She expected to be a scar, a permanent mark on your soul. Instead, you have rendered her a ghost, an echo in a room that is now occupied by a king. They told you it was a game of chess, a battle of wits and moves. They were wrong. It was never a game. It was a test to see who was building a world and who was merely playing on a board. You did not win by checkmate. You won by walking away from the table and beginning construction on a skyscraper next to it. She is still there, staring at the pieces, wondering why you won't make your move, oblivious to the fact that you are now operating in a different dimension entirely. The board has not been flipped. The board has been abandoned. You have left the game, and in doing so, you have taken all the power with you. The ultimate revenge is not her downfall, but your ascension to a place where you no longer even register her existence. This journey was never about her. It was about you. She was simply the pressure that turned carbon into a diamond. She was the fire that forged the steel. Her rejection was not a verdict on your worth. It was an invitation to a higher level of existence, an invitation you have now accepted. The respect you command is not for her to witness. It is for you to inhabit. It is in the steel of your gaze, the certainty of your step, the unwavering focus on your mission. It is the legacy you build, brick by brick, victory by victory. You are not the man she left. You are the man she created through her own miscalculation. She was looking for a captain, but she was incapable of recognizing an emperor in the making. This is the final law. Respect is not requested. It is commanded by your absence. Power is not declared. It is demonstrated by your focus. Your value is not determined by her approval. It is forged in the crucible of your own mission. You have been given the map. You have been handed the weapons. The war is over, but your reign has just begun. You are ready to claim your throne and commit to this path of absolute dominion? Then seal your pact now. Subscribe to this channel, press the like button as a symbol of your new strength, and activate all notifications, for your education must never cease. Now that you understand the strategy, I have one final command for you. Answer this in the comments below. What will be the first great monument you build in your new empire, now that you've cleared the rubble of your past? You will not be the one who got away. You will be the world she is no longer allowed to enter.